Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary, middle, and high school age. We're in our 12th year homeschooling this year. Today I am going to be sharing with you all of my changes that I'm going to make for the second semester. I've been hinting about these for months at this point, and now I think I am finally ready to sit down and share them with you. It's all subject to change. It really is. I tend to revisit our homeschool rhythms monthly when I do my monthly reset and making sure that we are on track with all of the things that I hope to accomplish each term that I am teaching in my home. So that's what we're going to focus on today. If you are new, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you are notified of all of my future videos. I help you to implement systems and strategies in order to overcome the chaos and cultivate simplicity in your home and homeschool. So let's get started on some of the changes. So the first change that is actually going to be happening for the second semester is that Emma is no longer doing band, which I have talked about, I think, a couple of different places with the public school. And so that changes our entire weekly rhythm. And the reason is because when she was doing public school band, the schedule alternated. So some weeks she would have band twice a week, sometimes it would be 3 times, sometimes it would be once a week. It really just depended on the week, and it changes every single week. So first, that's going to be a big change for us because we will not have to be on anybody else's schedule besides ours. And that can be good and bad. It can be really good because we have a lot more time to focus on passions and sit down and have the conversations that are important. And we are able to spend a little bit more time. Like if I'm reading to the kids and we're having great discussion, I don't have to look at my watch and say, okay, we got to wrap it up. And then we just fall off from that. It's hard to get back into that good conversation when there's such a large jump, you know, to leave the house and then come back several hours later to try and pick up where we left off. It's not that easy. So that is the good part. The bad part is because we have so much extra time, it's very easy to let time slip away and maybe not work as quickly as we need to, especially, you know, my kids when they are working on math or Spanish or some of their reading and such, they know that they have a full day. So it's not like they have to rush to get things done. And I prefer not to be doing school until 6 o'clock at night. Not that we do school straight until 6 o'clock, but just that Emma will take a 2-hour break to go out for a run and then take a shower and then make a nice meal for herself. And or Jack will rush through a bunch of stuff and then take a big break and then, you know, have to come back later. I'd like to be a little bit efficient with our time, but not so efficient that we feel like we don't have any margin to spend time deep diving on things that are interesting to us. So that is the first big change. And then the next change is how we kind of set up our homeschool year. We are year-round homeschoolers. That is not changing. And when I started my homeschool planning series this past summer, I had talked about doing like a 6-week on, 1 week off. I think people call it Sabbath schooling, or it might be Charlotte Mason-like where they have 6-week terms. Once we started back to school and we were also doing band and Emma had cross country, that 6 weeks on, 1 week off kind of went out the window because I just needed to get the stuff done and I didn't feel like I had enough time if we took too many breaks. So we were going pretty straight. We did take a week in September, but we went pretty much from mid-July right through our break at Thanksgiving. And we have been on break now for many weeks at this point. This is our big winter break. So when we start school again, in a few days, I'm not sure when this video is going up. It's going to be Monday the 9th is going to be when we start back up our homeschool. We are going to implement the 6 weeks on, 1 week off strategy. And my hope is that that gives us enough leeway to really deep dive on the content for 6 weeks and then have a full week off where we can recover and I can spend time working on mom-related stuff, projects around the house, as well as focusing on, you know, content for my YouTube and my website, etc. So it was interesting when I sat down with my homeschool planner to go through and start thinking about what I wanted to do for second semester. I actually already have all of those breaks in my calendar for the spring semester, or this winter spring semester. So when we're starting on 1/9, that is when I thought that we would be starting, when I originally planned everything out last summer. And I have our break weeks already built in. The only one I'm unsure of is the first week that we will have off, I think, is going to be the public school February vacation. And so I may either move it up or back a week. I'm not sure, mainly because if we want to do fun things, it gets so busy when kids are off from school. But at the same time, it's fun for my kids to have some time with their friends. So we will see. I'm not sure what that week will end up being like. But when I went through all of what we had accomplished in the fall semester, I was really worried that we were super behind, that I wasn't getting things done, that the kids were going to have to just continue going to school until June. And you know, that was not the case. We really did get everything done that we needed to. It may not have been as fun as we wanted it to be, and we may not have done as many extra projects and passion type projects that we wanted to do. But as far as the work that my kids need to get through in order to be done, you know, in mid-April, they are where they ought to be. So that was a pleasant surprise, especially because I felt so down on myself for being so busy in the fall after I'd said we weren't going to do that, that I just kind of figured that we hadn't done as much as we actually did. So, pro tip, sit down and really review what you have accomplished in the fall. You probably did more than you thought you did. The next thing is going to be implementing new daily rhythms, and I'm not entirely sure what that's going to look like at this point, but I do know that they are going to be different. And again, that relates to us not being tied to the public school schedule, and also wanting to make sure that we are being efficient with our time and that we're not just taking so much time to do school. The reason that that is hard for me to do as the homeschool parent is because I do kind of segment my days into homeschool, personal / mom project type stuff, and then work. And so what happens if my kids are doing schoolish type things for the entire day? It messes up my block scheduling for what I also need to get accomplished. So keeping the kids on track is something that will be a bit of a challenge, I think, starting off, but I think that we will get to that place. Implementing our Monday meetings again, so the kids have their list for the week. They know what they need to get done. They can work as fast or as slow as they need to, as long as they complete the work. I know that I'm not giving my kids more than they can get done in a week. I'm pretty accurate with what they're able to do weekly at this point. So it's just making sure that they stay on top of things, and you know, that's just an executive skill that takes time to learn. I'm not expecting perfection, but I am expecting them to stay to their lists. This is more for my older two. Lucy and I do school first thing in the morning, and it does not take us all that long. I think we work maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours fully together to get all of her work done. And she does a great job, and it is all controlled by mom. As long as she has a positive attitude, we do try to get through everything first thing in the morning. It just works for us. The next thing that I hope to implement is more project time, and that is meaning passion projects. If my kids are able to get my work done first thing in the morning during my homeschool block, where I am fully focused on their work and questions and discussion with them and helping them as they go through all of their subjects and such, Then they have all afternoon to work on their passion projects. And this is going to be kind of carrot and stick as far as you will have more time to work on your passion projects if you get your work done in the morning during our homeschool block. Now, it will depend on how our days are going. If I find that my kids are really dragging their feet and still have a lot of work in the evenings, I will have to set up more regimented scheduling for them. Sometimes we do have to do that. We do go through seasons where my kids actually request a bell schedule so that they have a start-stop time for specific tasks on their list. It really just depends on the season and how everybody's doing and the content that we're working on. But I do want us to have more time to work on our passion projects, and I'd like to work on them separately but all together. And what I mean by that is, you know, all of us sitting at the table, maybe we're all on a computer writing our own things, or working on, or Emma's working on animation and Jack is working on coding and I'm writing and Lucy is coloring or whatnot. You know, whatever it is, I'd like to do more together passion projects, even though all of our passions are different, if that kind of makes sense. But I want to dedicate more time to that this year. It's part of my goals. It's part of my homeschooling resolutions. If you saw my homeschool resolutions, all of that stuff is really important to me. And I think that not having to be out of the house constantly is going to give us enough space to be able to spend more time doing those types of things. The next thing on my list for changes is to have a screen-free day each week. And when I say a screen-free day, I mean even screens for school. Because we have been on break for so long and a lot of my kids' passions are screen related, it's hard to say no to screens or really back off, because my kids have learned that if they are doing something productive and creative with their screens, it's a lot harder for mom to say no. My kids don't just sit down and watch YouTube videos all day. They are actively working on creating. Emma does a lot of animating. Jack does a lot of coding. They are video editing. They are creating music and writing songs. And so when they are doing all of those things, it's hard for me to say, no, you don't need to use your screens anymore. If they were just watching movies all day, it would be a little bit easier. But I think that having a screen-free day each week where we focus on more analog living, if Emma wants to work on animation, maybe instead of working on animation, she works on some drawing, pencil drawing, and writing songs down on paper, working on her ukulele and the piano to get some notes before she starts trying to record stuff on her iPad. And so that kind of thing. For Jack, instead of him working on coding his game, maybe he works on the storytelling that is part of his game. So he's taking notes and writing characters and making sketches about the things that he wants to happen in the game. Lucy, you know, she's 8, so her passions are playing and playing. So it might be, I don't think it's going to be as difficult for her. But I do want to just take a day each week. We'll see if this continues. It's going to take some finagling on my part, especially because Emma and Jack both do math online, and Emma also takes her Spanish class online. So having a day when they're not doing that online will be interesting. There are still opportunities for my kids to complete at least their math work because I can print out their lessons and they can do it just on paper, which Emma pretty much already does, and then she enters her answers into the computer for grading. Jack just uses the computer, so it might be a little bit different for him. And as far as Spanish, Emma does double up on some days, so I'm not too concerned of her missing one day. We will see how it goes. We're going to do a lot more games and painting and art and making music and that kind of stuff one day a week. And I think it'll be fun. I know that there are a lot of homeschoolers that don't have any screen time during the week at all, which I applaud. That is not our family. So we really lean into tech, and I think that that's partly because I have been running a website since 2011. And so for me to say, no, you can't use screens when they see that my work is done on a screen daily, it would be a little bit more challenging, I think, to navigate that with my kids. Yes, and then the next change that I'm going to be making is also related to the openness of our schedule, and that is to do more strewing in our home. It's something that I love to do. If you don't know what strewing is, it's where you just put out a bunch of things on the table and the kids can either take part or not take part, take what they want, use if they want, or they don't have to. It just gives them an option. You know, you can put out bird guides, you can put out nature guides, you can put out board games or puzzles or blank books or blank comic books or art supplies, whatever it is. And there's no, this is what you're going to do with these things. It just gives them a chance to be creative on their own and use some new resources that maybe they don't use as frequently. So I would like to do that more. It will probably coincide with our screen-free day so that we are so that I'm giving the kids something else that they can do because it's so outside of what is typical for our day-to-day. Yes, but I haven't had as much time to do a lot of that stuff in the past semester, mainly because we were going so much in and out of the house. So those are some of the big changes that I will be making, and they're kind of broad. Now, I do have some curriculum things that we started to change right before we went on break, things like bringing back read-alouds for my older kids, even Emma in high school. I love to read to my kids. It has been the rock of our homeschooling to do read-alouds and have discussion and narration. That has been a huge part of our homeschool, and I had stopped doing a lot of that with my high schooler because she had so many other classes, and Jack is doing main studies this year, so we weren't really in a sunlight level this year for history and read-alouds, and because of that I just kind of let it drop. And my kids really enjoy that. They really enjoy sitting and chatting with me, and I value that time immensely. So I am going to continue doing that into the new year. I'm going to continue reading a personal development book with my teen and my tween. I'm going to continue working through the last couple of A History of Us books from Joy Hakeem, which we had not done when Emma did level 100 a couple of years ago. And yeah, I'm going to focus on a lot more read-alouds and a lot more conversation that way. I'm also going to back off on the amount of main studies work that Jack has to do, mainly because he pretty much despises the workbook that I got and the research involved with it. Not that he can't do research, but some of the questions are just a little more obscure and it's a little harder for him. I knew going in that was going to be a challenge. I was hoping that balancing it with some of the field trips that we were doing and some of the other stuff we were doing, it would be okay, but he really just hasn't enjoyed it, and I don't want to keep forcing it. We're getting through all of the content that we need for our year of main studies, but I'm going to try and maybe do a couple more project-based things for him and go through the information with him together rather than just having him do the workbook on his own, which is what he was doing the first semester. Again, because we were just going constantly, I didn't have as much time to sit down and really say, okay, what of this particular section is interesting to you? What can we do instead of these worksheets to encompass the information that you still need to learn about Maine and Maine studies. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to shift a few things, and I will take it month by month based on how things are going, and obviously continuing to check in with him. This is part of the reason that I have a monthly reset and a monthly conference with the kids. And I think I've done a video about my monthly conferences, or I've written a post about it. I will see if I can find that and leave it in the description box. But it's essentially the day after I have my monthly reset, I will sit down with each of my kids and talk to them about how things are going, if there are changes, if they need new resources, if they're struggling with a particular thing. Obviously, I see a lot of that in the day-to-day anyways, because I'm constantly observing my kids and what they're doing, and making sure that they're making progress. But sometimes when you just sit down and have that dedicated one-on-one time with your child, they will bring up things that maybe you didn't see or maybe you didn't think of throughout the month, and that allows me to make adjustments as I need to when we go into the next month. Okay. So those are all of my changes. I think most of them are mainly related to our schedule and our rhythm. And that tends to happen yearly anyways, regardless of what activities we're doing outside of the house. When we move into the winter months in Maine, it's cold, it's dark. We do a lot more hygge homeschooling, puzzles, games, read-alouds, working on that kind of stuff. Lots of candles and lights and things like that to keep us motivated to get through our work. Yes, so thank you guys so much for watching and joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have questions about anything that I talked about, please leave them in the comments, or you can always email me. My contact form is always in the description box. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.